Hi, in today's video, we are going to discuss about web application architecture. As we all know, web application architecture is a kind of architecture which displays the interaction between application components, middleware systems, user interfaces, and databases. This is a kind of interaction which allows a number of applications to work together simultaneously. So when we try to understand web application architecture from the context of, to be precise, with a web client, right? So may request web services are most commonly web documents like HTML, JSON, PDF, and so on through web server. With the kind of minimal manipulations and all, the requested information which will appear. After that, the kind of interaction between users and as well as website will start. Now, when we are trying to understand, because most of the people who are working on application development may have a doubt, right? So because how different the software architecture and software design was, because this web application architecture, which consists of the software architecture, where the designs part, all that, where people requires to understand about how different the software architecture and software design is. When we understand the software architecture, this is all a high level components of a system and how they interact with each other, where, how, right? So all these things are comes under software architecture part, which majorly allow us to implement the business requirements at the high level at the same time, which will be make us to make servers being arranged well, and where the data are going to be stored, right? Which components are going to be needed, all that. With the service architecture, it comes easier to see the kind of central aim of its to identify the both functional and as well as quality requirements, and also handle them to improve the overall quality of an application. So in general, with software architecture, we can monitor performance, scalability, reliability, all that. Now, when we are talking about the software design part, it's more about the code level design. Whatever the kind of code are we writing for any of the projects, so the kind of code level designs, and that is all responsible for the functionality of each module and its purposes. Software development process, wherein gone through a step of architecture step, where a software designer to think about the function, classes, interfaces, and other details the app would have, followed by the software design is the level of details or components. For instances, like software design levels are exactly when we write any API specs, all that. Therefore, it comes to coding phase. The kind of front-end as well as back-end developers can work to the spec. Now, when we are trying to understand the web application architecture, components, architecture diagram, when we see the kind of scheme of user server processes, which can explain the essence of web application architecture. Wherein the first one we see over here, wherein the first one is called DNS, or a domain name system, which is a fundamental system which helps search a domain name and IP addresses. And in this manner, a particular server receives a request sent by the user. Like we can say that the DNS is like a phone book, but for the internet websites, all that. The next one is called load balancer, which primarily deals with horizontal scaling with directing incoming requests to one of the multiple servers. The load balancer sends an answers to the user. Usually, web application server exists in the form of multiple copies, mirroring each other. Hence, any server processor requests in the same manner, and the load balancers distributes tasks among them so that they will not be overcharged. Now, when we are talking about this web app servers, which is a component process, here users request to send documents, something like JSON, XMK, all that, back to the browser to perform the kind of task which usually refers to the backend infrastructure such as database, cache server, job queue, others, and all that. Besides that, at least two servers connected to the load balancer manage to the processes the user request. At the same time, whenever we are talking about the database, the kind of web application component which this database gives instruments for organizing, adding, searching, updating, deleting, and performing computations, all that. In most of the cases, web application servers directly interact with the job servers, all that. Next one is called caching service. Caching service provides storage for data, which allows storing and searching data. Whenever a user gets some information from the server, the result of this operational goes to the cache. So further requests written faster in one word. Caching allows us to refer to the previous results to make a computational much faster. Therefore, caching is effective when the computation is slow, whenever the computation is likely to occur many times, when the results are the same for a particular request on that. The next was job queue, which is an optional one, I can say, which consists of two components, the job queue itself and servers. These server process jobs in the queue. It happens that most of the web servers need to operate a vast amount of jobs that are not primarily importance. Therefore, when a job needs to be fulfilled, it goes to the job queue and is operated due to a schedule. Next one is also called as full text search service, which is also an optional one, where many web applications supports the search by text function or so-called request. And then an app sends the most relevant results to the users. This technology, named full text search service, with the help of keywords, it searches the needed data among the vast number of documents, all that. Followed by this, the next we talk about services. When a web application reaches a specific level, services are created in the form of separate apps. They are not visible among other web application components, but the web application and other services interact with them. Now, when we are talking about the data warehouse, which almost every modern application implies the work with data such as collecting, storing, and analyzing. But these data warehousing has three different stages. The data is sent to the data firehose, which provides a here you can see, right, which provides a streamlined interface for absorption and processing of data. Second, whatever the raw processed of additional data is sent to the cloud storage. And the third one, when we are talking about this, and the processed additional data also go to data warehouses, all that. It's a kind of particular model of an online storage and exchange of data through the internet. The data warehouse can be used for sorting a variety of files of different type of videos, photos, and all that. The next one is about CDN, which is called Content Delivery System, which deals with HTML files, CSS files, JavaScript files, and images. It delivers the content of the end server throughout the world so people can load various sources on that. So these are all the different web application architecture components, which normally we use whenever we are working on this web application architectures, all that. Now, when we're talking about the models of web application architecture components, like one web services or one database, multiple web services on database, at the same time multiple web services and multiple databases, application services, etc., all that. This is all about web application architecture framework, all that. This is all about this video. This video is majorly useful to the people who are working in the field of IT, especially into web application side, all that. If you have any queries, if you have any questions in regard to that, please reach out to the contact details, which will be posted in below to this video. Thank you.